April 10th, 1988. I was just 13 years of age, and I was in my eighth grade, and I had a severe typhoid fever, and I stayed in hospital for about 17 days. The hospital was in Rawalpindi near Askermal scheme, and the name was Dr. Razak's hospital. My temperature used to go up till 108 degrees during the nighttime, and during the daytime, it was around 102, 103. So around 38 to 41 degrees, but teenagers can't take that much temperature. It would have been fatal if it happened at this age. So I was off school and just got the to catch up with the homework. I was sitting on top of my house on the rooftop and catching up with the homework because I had to start school in a day or two. Then doctors declared me fit. So about 9:45, 9:50, sometimes like that, I heard a huge explosion, and I even jumped up in the air, and my notebooks went flying away. And I said, "What the heck has just happened?" That was the time when in Pakistan there were a lot of bombings happening. In markets, the bomb used to explode. This was Indian-backed terrorists. They were doing these things in Pakistan at that time, and also we were involved in the Soviet-Afghan War. So they were taking revenge in the form of, blowing out the civilians in Pakistan. We were so scared at that time that when we used to go to market and we see any unattended bag, people used to call police right away. And every other day there was an explosion. So Pakistan has been under this turmoil for years, man, for decades. So we live on Murray Road near Kohati Bazaar, near Waris Khan bus station, very famous one. And when I looked towards the hills of Murray side, and then I saw this umbrella kind of nuclear bomb kind of smoke coming up. This explosion happened in a building called, at that time it was called Survey of Pakistan, means the map makers. But actually that was the ISI building, the Intelligence Services, Inter-Services Intelligence of Pakistan. We never knew about that, by the way. And that was during General Ziaul Haq's time. He was the president of Pakistan whose plane crashed 4 months later on August 17th, 1988, and he died in that, along with a lot of big personals, even the American ambassadors of that time. 2 of them got killed in that crash. Now, we'll talk about that some other day. But what happened when I saw that umbrella kind of, so all those Hiroshima, Nagasaki movies start coming in front of me, I said, holy cow, we're dead now. My nephew, he was 2 years and about 2 months old at that time, and 1 day. He was born on 1986, February 9th. And he used to go to my school. I mean, he was in grade 1. Imagine that. 2 years of age and going to grade 1. So I had a bike, but I didn't ride my bike because I was too weak. The typhoid fever made me so weak. So I ran to pick him up because my brother, he was in the office and we didn't know what happened. Sorry, before picking him up, no, this explosion is in front of me, right? So we saw it, nothing can we do. And that was the daytime, so didn't see these, what started after that explosion was all that ammunition, which was supposed to be given to the Afghan fighters in Afghanistan against Soviets. That whole depot got exploded. And luckily, there were no detonators attached to that one. So that's why they were heating up and just flying up in the air. And after a short period of time, they would land. So the radius was about 5 to 10 kilometers. the whole radius of from that area onwards. So right after that, like about 15 minutes later, I was still on the rooftop, and right in front of our front neighbors, I saw something burning red hot, that like a long thingy, and the voice was like, boom, and it hit our neighbor's top floor, the front neighbors. And I said, what just happened? What was that? That's not a bomb explosion. That's kind of, I was trying to figure out. And then started hearing the sounds. You know, those missile kind of sounds, the parabola when they're making. And then started seeing the smoke coming out from here and there, and no aircrafts in the air. So just who the hell is throwing these things on houses? And then right away, the first thing was like, okay, I need to save my nephew. So then I ran towards my school, Holy Purpose School, located in Asr Mal Scheme at that time. Distance was about 15 to 20 minutes on foot. So I ran towards the school. My nephew was standing outside because the whole school was right away given off. You just go home. So there's no one to pick him up. So I went to pick him up. So picked him up, and then we saw these missiles falling here and there. And now I have to hold my nephew too, and he is just 2 years and 2 months old, and he doesn't know anything. So I started playing a game with him. I said, okay, listen, anytime you see a missile, anything you see this thing coming, you point at it, and then you start counting. So he could count to like 50 at that time. So when it comes to 50, he would ask me, Uncle, what next? And I would tell him, okay, start from 1 again. And so he started counting again. Imagine how many missiles fell on Rawalpindi and Islamabad city on that day. The report says that it was between 300,000 to 1,000,000 almost. 300,000 rocket launchers, mortars, the tank ammunition, and so those medium size missiles. So this is like more than what you have seen in 35 days of war, what Israel dropped on Iran, or what Iran dropped on all these Gulf countries, including Israel. You combine them, it was 10 times more in one day. Although there were no detonators, but still a huge rod coming up with this speed and coming up from that height and hitting your house. So at that time, what I did, I said, okay, so now I have to keep my nephew not scared, and also have to go to a safer place. Didn't go back home. So we got from within these small narrow streets. We followed that one, and we reached up. I was trying to go towards the GHQ, which is located in Sadar Rawalpindi. So I was trying to run towards that side so that this is the army headquarters. So I thought that it would be safer to go there. I was 13 years old. So, and once we reached in the middle, that was Committee Choke. And that area got hit because that was right at that 5 to 6 kilometers range. So most of the missiles were just falling there, and we were in the hot zone, me and my nephew. And even we saw missiles touching the road and, flying here and there. And imagine that one. And we were seeing that with our own eyes, and I had no clue what to do now. So I made a left from there, and then we entered the Madhok Kabba graveyard towards that side. Now my next name was, I can't make it to the GHQ, so let's go to the Chaklala base, which is Nurhan base now, from the back of Committee Choke, and then through Madhok Kabba. I scouted these all areas during, I used to ride bikes in all these areas, so I knew my ways where to go. So when we went through the graveyard, man, these poor dead people, they were also hit the most because they were also on that boundary line of 4 to 5 kilometers of the range of those missiles. So literally, there were hundreds of graves that got hit on that day. Because when the missile touches the ground, of course, it it bounces up and down again and then keeps going and destroying all the graves. So these poor dead people, rest in peace, well, literally became rest in pieces. So once, and so you can guess that about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we made this whole circle, and I can't tell you how many dead bodies I have seen on that day. Some of them had chopped off. Some of them, you had see the legs only on the bikes, and their feet were still on the pedals, but the top body was gone, and I had to cover my nephew's eyes every time the sewage system in Pakistan is on the streets outside open area at that time, and some of the streets had just blood. It was that official figures were 90 people got killed, but I think it's much more than that. So in order to avoid any panic situation, government, I think they hid the original number. But you can imagine that 300,000, more than 300,000 to 1,000,000, these kind of things fell on a city throughout the day till about 5 to 6 in the afternoon. What would have happened? Just imagine that. It was much bigger than any hot war zone, which you have seen on videos. Nothing like that. Those things are, I see them, I feel like it knows this little thing. What happened in Ojhri Camp on that day was much, much bigger. Around 5 o'clock, 3 to 4 o'clock, I through Noor Khan Air Base from Glass Factory Square, we entered the ASF ground and reached till another house, not the one which we resided in. There was another house. All the relatives lived there, near Chandni Chowk, C Block Satellite Time, on the runway 12 of Noor Khan Air Base. That's where I spent my childhood. So we lived there. We went there, and there we had a shop. And my uncle used to run that shop. It was just a general store for, groceries. And what happened to him? One missile, he just put the shutter down. He was trying to close the shop. So he got the half shutter down. And then he was just, organizing the things to get out and run away. And this missile came in. It made a huge hole in the shutter, came in, went around my uncle on the premises of the room of the shop. It was not a big shop, like I think 18 by 24 feet. That was the area of the whole shop. So went around, and the exhaust of that one made my uncle look like a ghost, because it's like pure black smoke coming out. So when I saw his face, he literally looked like people from Africa. This portion was white. I don't know why. Just like you get a suntan, but this was the worst suntan, like literally smoked by the missile. So that entered from the front door of the shop. Now I'm laughing, but at that time, man, the heart was pounding like horses galloping. So the missile went around him. He said that he mentioned that it took 2 rounds because it was wired now. It was trying to find a point to go out, but it couldn't. So it took 2 rounds, and then the neighboring house, it hit that wall. So there was a big hole there too, and went into the neighbor's living room and just stayed there. And what happened? So when I saw my uncle, when we entered the ground, he was just standing there, like goof kind of thingy. So I didn't ask him. I understood that what had happened. So later on, when we went to the shop to see what damage it has done, he used to have big bags of sugar. And you know what happened to that sugar? It melted. It melted, and then it got frozen again. So, it was kind of a whole block of melted sugar. Well, the color was pale, yellowish orange, because that's what happens once you melt the sugar. It was that much heat. I don't know how my uncle survived that day, but luckily he survived. The government paid for everything, for every household, whatever the destruction happened, Pakistan government paid for that. So I remember my uncle got a check of about 28,000 rupees, which was a big, huge amount back then in 1988, to renovate all the things and all the things that got burnt. All the groceries were burnt, of course. So this was a day of rain, of missiles in Rawalpindi city, Islamabad city, and some areas of the suburban areas, hilly areas also. And we also lost one of the famous politician of that time, Mr. Hakan Abbasi. He was a former ex-Air Force officer, Air Commodore, retired. His son has been a Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahid Haqqan Abbasi too, and now he's the co-owner of Air Blue in Pakistan. So this family, he and his brother, they both were on a car and going home. So near Faizabad, one of the missiles. Faizabad is very near, I mean, half a kilometer from that area of explosion. And the first few missiles hit the car. They got burnt alive. They didn't have time to come out. I think the brother stayed alive for about 8 or 9 years, stayed in coma and paralyzed. But dad, he was dead, and a lot of deaths. I mean, I expect around 1,000 deaths, but people suspect. I assume there were more than 1,000 deaths, but they said 90. So this was today's April 10th. So I thought that I should commemorate this day, and all my well wishes to people who lost their lives, who families lost their beloved ones. May Allah be pleased with them. See you next time.